Sheikh Hamdan's wife asked him one question. His answer ended the marriage one question. Not a list of accusations, not a confrontation built from months of gathered evidence and carefully prepared arguments. Not the kind of conversation that builds toward a conclusion through the accumulated weight of everything that has been wrong for a long time. One question, asked in a quiet moment, in the specific tone of a woman who has already done all the work of knowing, who has sat with the evidence and processed the shape of things and arrived at a place of terrible clarity, and who is not asking because she does not know the answer, but because she needs to hear him say it. She needed to hear it from him, in his voice, without the management and the composure and the official version of his life, smoothing the surface of what she was asking into something more acceptable than the truth. She needed the truth from him directly, and she asked for it in the most direct way available, with one question. And his answer ended the marriage. She had known something for a long time before she asked. The knowing had been building in the specific way that difficult truths build in people who are intelligent enough to understand what they are seeing, but who have invested enough in not seeing it clearly to sustain the not seeing longer than a less invested person might have managed. She had felt the other woman's presence in the marriage from early in the marriage, not as a fact, as a quality, a specific temperature in space between herself and her husband that was different from the ordinary distance that two people who are still becoming familiar with each other produce. The distance she felt from Hamdan was not the distance of unfamiliarity. It was the distance of prior occupation, of a heart that had already given itself to a specific address and could not fully relocate to the official one, regardless of what the official arrangement required. She had built the question slowly, not consciously. The way questions build when a person is not ready to ask them, but the asking is becoming increasingly unavoidable. The question assembled itself from the evidence, from the quality of the distance, from the nights when his phone was somewhere it should not have been, from the specific way he looked when he returned from London, from the poems that carried a tenderness that was not directed at her, from the 100 small details that individually meant nothing and collectively meant everything. The question became complete before she decided to ask it. And then one night, in a moment that was quiet enough for the asking to be possible and honest enough for the answer to be required, she asked, "Do you love her?" 4 words. The simplest version of the question that everything in the marriage had been pointing toward since the beginning. Not, are you seeing someone? Not, is there another woman? Not any of the more circuitous formulations that would have given him more room to manage the answer towards something safer than the truth. Do you love her? Direct, specific, requiring a direct and specific answer that the management and the composure and the years of maintaining the official surface were not going to be sufficient to deflect. He was quiet for a moment. The people who have been close enough to this story to know what happened in that room say the quiet lasted longer than a simple yes or no requires. Not the quiet of someone deciding whether to lie, the quiet of someone deciding whether to be honest. Whether the specific moment, the woman in front of him, the question she had asked, the quality of the asking that communicated that she already knew and was asking anyway, was the moment that deserved the honesty he had been withholding for the entire duration of the marriage. He decided it was. He said yes, one word, carrying everything that the marriage had been structured to conceal, confirming everything she had been feeling since the day she entered a life that already had someone else at the center of it. Yes, he loved her, the other woman, the one whose number had been in his phone under a name that was not her name, The one whose presence had been in the marriage from the beginning, in the form of the distance his wife had felt and had spent the duration of the marriage trying to close. The one who had loved him first, and who had continued loving him through the arrangement and the wedding and the years of official marriage that had never changed the fundamental reality of where his heart had always been. She heard it, the yes, in his voice, without the management, without the composure, with the specific weight of a truth that had been carried for too long arriving in the open at the moment I decided to stop carrying it alone. She heard it, and the picture that had been assembling for the entire duration of the marriage completed itself in a single syllable. Everything she had felt and half known and spent years navigating around rather than walking directly into was confirmed. Not by evidence, by him, by the man she had married telling her directly the thing that his marriage had been telling her indirectly since the day it began. The marriage ended in that moment. Not officially. The official end came later, through the processes that official ends require in families like his, through the management and the communication and the careful reorganization of the public story around what had changed. But actually, in the room between the two of them, the marriage ended when he said yes. Because the yes answered not just the question she had asked, but every question the marriage had produced since the beginning. It answered why the distance had never closed, why the connection she had reached for had never fully been available, why the official arrangement had always felt like exactly that, an arrangement, rather than the life that the word marriage is supposed to describe. It answered all of it with a single syllable that she had asked him for and that he had finally given her. She did not react with the kind of visible emotion that the magnitude of the moment might have produced in someone less controlled. That is the quality of her that has been consistent throughout the story. The specific dignity of a woman who feels things fully without allowing the feeling to overtake the composure that she has, always brought to an impossible situation. She heard the yes, she sat with it, and she made the decision that the yes required, the decision that she had probably already made before she asked the question that she had been building toward for longer than the building had been comfortable, that the yes simply confirmed was the correct one. She left, not immediately, not that night, with the specific deliberateness of a woman who makes decisions the right way, fully, completely, with the dignity that she has always brought to everything the marriage has asked of her. She left with the knowledge that what she had finally asked for and received had cost her the official life she had been given and given her back something more valuable, the truth, which was the only thing the marriage had never offered her, and the only thing, in the end, that made the leaving possible without the leaving destroying her. One question, one answer. One marriage ended in the only honest way it ever could have been. Subscribe to this channel and hit the bell. Every week, I bring you the real story of Sheikh Hamdan. The questions that were finally asked, the answers that were finally given, and the truth about what happens when a man decides, for the first and possibly only time, to be completely honest with his wife.